I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating, especially not over something as seemingly innocuous as sleep. Susan and I had been together for about 8 years, married for 5. We'd always had our issues, nothing catastrophic, just the usual ups and downs. She's a typical bitchy wife, always quick to dismiss my concerns, always full of excuses. But I loved her, or at least I thought I did. Lately, though, I'd noticed things changing. She was more irritable, snapping at me over tiny things, and her nights seemed restless. She'd stay up late, then sleep in past noon on weekends. I'd ask about her mood swings, and she'd brush me off with the usual "I'm stressed" or "I'm just tired." I figured her job as a marketing executive was wearing her down, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The real trouble started when I began to notice her phone acting weird. She'd start deleting messages, locking her screen at odd times, and sometimes I caught her sneaking her phone into the bathroom when she thought I wasn't looking. That, combined with her growing coldness towards me, pushed me to pay closer attention. I wasn't paranoid, I just knew something was wrong. One night I finally decided to check her emails. I'd never done that before, but I was desperate for answers. I sat at the computer after she went to bed. She was already snoring loudly as usual, and I slowly, carefully unlocked her account. That's when I saw it. There was an email thread from a week ago, sent from her work account with a subject line I'd never seen before: meeting at the clinic. Curious, I clicked. The email was from someone named Dr. Carter, a sleep specialist she'd been seeing for her insomnia. The times listed were during her usual daytime hours, but what caught my eye was the scheduling system attached, appointments that were never billed to our insurance. I thought maybe it was a mistake or some kind of billing error, but I kept digging. I looked up the clinic's scheduling system. Strange thing, there were appointments listed for her all during the day, but they weren't on any of her insurance records. No billing, no receipts, nothing. Just these visits in the system that I had no clue about. That's when my stomach dropped. Why would she be going to a sleep specialist during the day? And why wasn't she telling me? I've always been a logical guy. If she was having trouble sleeping, I figured we'd face it together, maybe go to the doctor. But that wasn't happening. Instead, she was hiding something, and I knew it. The more I thought about it, the more I realized she'd been lying about her insomnia, about her sleep, about everything. She told me she was just stressed, that she couldn't fall asleep sometimes, but her appointment suggested there was something more. Something she didn't want me to know. I kept going through the emails and the billing info, trying to piece it all together. That's when I found a series of texts from Dr. Carter, flirty, inappropriate, clearly crossing some line, but they'd been deleted from her phone, or at least she'd tried to erase them. Still, the emails remained, and I had enough to know she was cheating on me. With her sleep specialist, of all people, I felt my world tilt. All those nights I thought she was just having trouble sleeping, struggling with her stress. They were a cover, a lie. She'd been sneaking out during the day, meeting him, probably fucking him. It wasn't just an affair, it was an entire deception built on her pretending to be innocent and vulnerable. I didn't even want to believe it at first, but the evidence was staring me in the face. The emails, the weird appointments, her secretive behavior. I sat there in disbelief for hours, trying to process what I'd just uncovered. It was an emotional sledgehammer. I felt betrayed, humiliated, sick to my stomach. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the fact that she'd been lying to me every single day. She'd been pretending to be one person while secretly seeing someone else. This wasn't just a fling. It was a full-blown affair, and she'd been lying right in my face. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything, trying to understand how she could do this, how she could betray me so blatantly. That's when I decided I had to confront her. I couldn't keep living in this fog of lies. I needed the truth from her face to face. I didn't know what I'd say, what I'd do if she denied it, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see what I saw. I had to know for sure. And when I finally confronted her, that's when the real chaos began. The next morning, I couldn't even function. My mind was racing, thoughts of her, the affair, the lies. It was like a storm inside my head. I knew I couldn't keep hiding from it. I had to confront her, get some clarity, or maybe just get it over with. My stomach was tight, my hands trembling, but I managed to get up and head to the bedroom where she was still in bed, scrolling through her phone like she always did in the mornings. I stood there watching her, feeling the weight of everything I'd uncovered. She looked up at me with that fake smile, her usual "I'm fine" mask, like she didn't realize I knew, like she thought she could keep lying forever. I took a deep breath and just blurted it out. "Who the hell is Dr. Carter, Susan?" Her face froze. She blinked like she hadn't expected me to find out. Then she rolled her eyes and sighed heavily, like I was ruining her day with a stupid question. "What are you talking about? I told you I've got insomnia. I've been seeing him too. Get some help. Help, or are you sleeping with him?" I shot back, feeling my voice shake a little. I saw her eyes flicker with something, anger, annoyance, but she quickly masked it. "Oh please, you're so dramatic. You think I'd cheat on you? That's ridiculous." She sat up in bed, tossing her hair. "He's a doctor. He's just helping me deal with my sleep issues, nothing more." I wasn't buying it. Not after what I saw. The emails, the appointment times, the billing system. All of it pointed to something else. "Don't lie to me, Susan. I saw the emails, the appointments that aren't on our insurance. You're sneaking around and lying. How long has this been going on?" She scoffed, rolled her eyes again. "You're crazy. You're reading into things. Maybe if you actually paid attention to me instead of spying on my emails, I wouldn't have to sneak around. You're so controlling, it's no wonder I needed someone else to talk to." That's when I lost it. I'd never seen her so bitchy, so dismissive, so full of herself. But I also knew she was lying. She'd been caught, and now she was trying to turn it around on me. I clenched my fists and pushed her. "You're disgusting. I can't believe I married someone who would cheat on me with her fucking sleep doctor." My voice cracked, but I kept going. "You think I don't know what you're doing? You've been lying to me for months. I want to hear the truth, Susan. Are you sleeping with him? How long has this been going on?" She looked at me, eyes narrowing, then shrugged like I was just some inconvenience. "Whatever. I don't have to explain myself to you." She got out of bed and started grabbing her clothes. "You're overreacting. Maybe you should get some help yourself if you're so paranoid." That hit like a punch in the gut. I felt the anger boil over. I was furious at her, at myself, at the whole situation. How could she just lie like this? How could she be so cold, so dismissive after everything? I finally yelled. "You're a cheating bitch, Susan. I know what you're doing. I saw the emails, the appointment times. You're sleeping with him and you're lying to my face. I want a divorce. I want out of this bullshit marriage." She looked at me with that smirk like she was laughing inside, and then she turned and stormed out of the room. I stood there feeling numb. The house suddenly felt so cold, so empty. I knew I'd never trusted her again, not truly. The betrayal cut deep, sharper than anything I'd ever experienced. It wasn't just about the cheating. It was about the lies, the deception, the fact that she thought she could get away with it. I spent the rest of that day in a daze, trying to process what I'd uncovered. I kept replaying her words, the way she dismissed everything, the way she lied so easily. I'd always known she was bitchy, kind of mean, really. But I never thought she'd be this callous, this cold. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. And for the first time, I realized I had to seriously consider whether I wanted to keep fighting for this marriage or just cut my losses and walk away. That night, I sat alone in the living room, staring at my phone, debating whether I should call her and demand the truth again, or just let her go. I knew one thing: my trust was shattered. There was no saving this, not anymore. The betrayal was too big, and I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I wanted to scream, to cry, but I just sat there silent, trying to figure out what comes next. The following days were a blur. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her sneering attitude, the way she dismissed everything I said. I still couldn't wrap my head around the fact that she'd gone this far, cheating on me with her sleep specialist, lying for months. It was like my life had been a lie, and now I was just trying to pick up the pieces. I kept replaying everything I knew. The sneaking around, the secret appointments, the emails. I even started to question what I'd missed before. Did I blind myself to her bullshit? Had I been so blind that I didn't see she was already cheating? I found myself obsessively checking her phone, her email, her social media, trying to find some shred of proof she wasn't telling the full truth. It was exhausting, but I needed answers. One day, I finally decided I couldn't just sit around and stew. I needed to confront her again, get some clarity, or maybe just hear her lie to my face again. I calmly called her at work. Her voice sounded irritated when she answered. "Yeah, what?" she snapped. "I want to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Now, about everything." There was a pause. I could hear her breathe, then she finally sighed loudly. "Fine, come home, but don't expect me to put up with your bullshit." When she got home, I was already waiting in the living room. I didn't waste time. I told her I knew everything, the emails, the appointments, the billing system. I asked her why she lied, why she cheated. She rolled her eyes and dismissed me again, telling me I was overreacting, that it was just a stupid mistake, that she'd been under stress and that it meant nothing. She acted like I was a crazy person for even bringing it up, but I pressed her. "What is this really about, Susan? Who is he? Is it sex? Are you sleeping with him?" Her eyes flickered. "Contempt. None of your business. I don't owe you anything. If you're gonna keep accusing me, maybe we're better off apart." That was the moment I snapped. I told her I was sick of her bullshit, that I'd seen enough and that I wanted her out of my life. Her face twisted in anger and she spat. "Fine, go ahead and divorce me. You'll regret pushing me away." That night I didn't sleep again. Instead, I began to plan. I knew I had to do something more, something to make her pay for what she did. I started researching her clinic, her doctor, the billing system, everything I could find. I wanted to understand how she was able to hide all this from me, how she managed to keep up her lies. And then I found it. A pattern. The appointments, the billing, the emails, they all led to one thing. She'd been meeting him during the day, during hours I was at work. She'd been lying about her sleep issues, using it as a cover to see him. She'd even told me she was trying new meds when I asked about her sleep, but clearly that was bullshit. She didn't want me to know she was sleeping with her doctor, probably because she knew I'd be furious, and she was right. I started piecing together her entire game. She was manipulative, sneaky, and cold. She'd lied to my face for months, and I realized something else. She'd been so casual about it, so dismissive of my feelings, like she didn't care. It made me angry, but also really, really hurt. I'd loved her once, and now I saw her for what she truly was, someone who could betray her vows so easily. That night I decided I had to take control of the situation. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I knew I'd have to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I wanted to see how far she'd go, how she'd react to the truth finally coming out. I was tired of feeling powerless, tired of her lies, tired of feeling like I'd been played for a fool. The next morning I texted her just a simple message: "We need to talk now." Her reply was short: "What?" I told her I knew everything about the affair, the secret appointments, the billing, the lies. I told her I wasn't going to sit around and be her doormat anymore. I was done playing her game. When she arrived home later that day, I was already waiting in the living room, a copy of the email exchanges I'd saved on my phone. I didn't say a word. I just handed her the screen, watching her face twist in shock, then anger. Her eyes darted back and forth, trying to find an escape. And that was the moment I finally saw her for what she was, someone who thought she could lie her way out of everything. I told her straight up, "This is over. I want a divorce. I can't be married to someone who lies, cheats, and manipulates me. You've broken everything between us." She looked at me furious, trying to deny everything, but I'd heard enough. That's when she lost her composure. She started yelling, accusing me of all sorts of things, saying I was paranoid, insecure, controlling. But I didn't care. I'd made up my mind. This marriage was finished. I was done being the guy who got played for a fool. It was a hell of a wake-up call. I'd always thought I had a good marriage, that we were solid. But the truth was, she'd been living a double life for months, and I'd been completely blind to it. I learned the hard way that sometimes the person you trust the most is the one who can hurt you the deepest. And no matter how much it hurts, you have to face the reality, even if it means starting all over again. The days that followed were a whirlwind. After confronting her and telling her I wanted out, everything seemed to shift into chaos. Susan's reaction was classic. She started crying, shouting, accusing me of overreacting, of being paranoid, of destroying her life. But honestly, I didn't care. Her tears didn't mean anything anymore. All I saw was the woman I loved, the woman I trusted, betraying me so blatantly. The fact that she was crying now just made me feel sick, like I'd been duped all those years. I told her she needed to leave. I couldn't stand to look at her, knowing what she'd done. She packed her things quickly, throwing her clothes into a bag, all the while still trying to spin her story, saying it was just a mistake, that she loved me, that she'd stopped seeing him. I didn't believe her, not for a second. I just wanted her gone so I could breathe again, so I wouldn't feel like I was drowning in her lies. While she was packing, I sat in the living room trying to gather myself. My mind was a mess, anger, hurt, betrayal, all swirling together. I kept thinking about how she'd lied for so long, how she'd sneered at me, dismissing my concerns, telling me I was paranoid when I was. I'd trusted her and she'd thrown it all away for some stupid affair. The thought made my stomach turn. When she finally left, she did so with a parting shot. "You'll regret this. I still love you, but you're too stupid to see it." That made me angrier. I wanted to scream at her that her love was a lie, that she'd betrayed me beyond recognition. But I just watched her drive away, feeling emptier than I ever had before. The house was eerily silent after she left. I was alone, completely alone. I felt a strange mix of relief and devastation. Relief because the endless lies were finally exposed. Devastation because I'd lost the woman I thought I knew, someone I'd committed my life to. I kept asking myself how I'd missed the signs, how I'd been so blind. I'd given her everything, my time, my love, my trust, and she'd repaid me with betrayal. I spent the next few days trying to keep it together, but it was a struggle. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, thinking about her, her sneering face, her sneaky lies. Every little thing reminded me of her. I'd look at our wedding photos and feel this crushing sense of loss. It was like my life had been turned upside down overnight. In the midst of all this, I started to think about what I really wanted. I knew I couldn't stay married to her anymore, not after what she did. But I also knew I couldn't just jump into some kind of revenge or spiteful action. I had to be smart. I had to protect myself and my sanity. I started gathering evidence of her affair, just in case I needed it for a divorce or to prove her infidelity. I talked to a lawyer the next day, knowing that I'd need solid proof if I wanted to get a fair settlement. At the same time, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized how much I'd been putting up with, her bitchy attitude, her dismissiveness, her manipulations. I'd always thought I could fix things, that love was enough. But it was. Not when you're being betrayed so blatantly. I learned that sometimes love isn't enough to keep a marriage afloat when lies have taken root so deep. I also started to reflect on myself. I wondered what I could have done differently, but mostly I realized I'd been giving her too much slack. I'd ignored the warning signs, dismissed my gut feelings because I wanted the marriage to work, but I'd been fooling myself. Now I'd have to rebuild from scratch emotionally, financially, mentally. It was overwhelming. Throughout this process, I kept thinking about the betrayal, the way she'd lied, the way she'd dismissed my feelings. It made me question everything about our life together. How could I be so naive? How could she be so cold? I was hurt, yes, but I was also angry. The kind of anger that fuels you to take control of your life again. I knew I couldn't undo what she'd done, but I could choose how to move forward, so I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight to save the marriage anymore. I was going to focus on myself, my career, my mental health, rebuilding trust in myself. I couldn't trust her anymore, and honestly, I didn't want to. She'd shown her true colors, but I also knew I'd have to be cautious, especially with the divorce process. I didn't want her pulling more surprises or trying to manipulate me further. That's where I am now. Still hurt, still angry, but slowly starting to feel like I might be able to put this behind me. I've learned a lot about trust, about betrayal, and about the importance of listening to your gut. And I know that from now on, I'll never ignore those warning signs again. Never again will I be so blind to someone's true nature. It's a painful lesson, but one I think I had to learn the hard way. The few weeks after she left were some of the darkest of my life. I threw myself into work just to keep my mind busy, but at night it was a different story. I'd lie awake for hours replaying everything, her sneering, her lies, the way she dismissed me like I was nothing. I kept thinking about all the times I'd fought for us, tried to support her, and how she repaid me with betrayal. It made me sick. Honestly, I felt like I'd been stabbed in the back and left to bleed out. During this period, I also started to piece together a plan. Not a revenge plan, I wasn't that kind of guy, but a way to get some closure. I knew I needed proof for the divorce, something that would hold up in court. I wasn't about to let her manipulate her way out of this. I started monitoring her online activity, saving emails, taking screenshots of her messages from her phone, and even hiring a private investigator to confirm her affair details. I needed undeniable evidence to prove her cheating, especially since she'd deny everything in court. Meanwhile, I was trying to keep my emotions in check. I felt a strange mix of shame, anger, and deep sadness. I'd lost so much: my wife, my trust, the future I'd imagined. It was like a part of me had died. I kept wondering whether I should even fight for a divorce or just walk away and forget about everything. But deep down, I knew I deserved to be equal in the settlement, and I wanted to make sure I protected myself financially. I had to think about what was best for me moving forward. One day, I finally sat down and drafted a list of everything I knew about her affair. The emails, the billing records, the texts, the appointments, everything. I organized it chronologically, making sure I had a clear timeline of her secret meetings with Dr. Carter. I also talked with my lawyer, who advised me to gather as much evidence as possible. She told me I could use it to get a fair settlement and to ensure she wouldn't manipulate her way out of responsibility. That same lawyer mentioned something I hadn't considered before. She suggested I consider a forensic accountant to review the finances more deeply. Turns out, the clinic's billing system was a goldmine of information. There were appointments she never told me about, charges I didn't recognize, and suspicious transactions that I could use to prove she was lying about her whereabouts. This was all helpful because I wanted to go into the divorce proceedings with concrete proof of her deceit, not just my suspicions. Around this time, I started seeing a counselor, not because I thought I needed therapy, at least not consciously, but because I knew I needed to process everything properly. I had to get my head straight, make sense of the betrayal, and figure out how to move on without carrying this heavy weight forever. The counselor told me I was doing the right thing, that I was taking control of my life again, but I could tell she also saw how deeply I'd been hurt. Part of me wanted to confront her again, to make her see how much she'd broken me, but I held back. I knew that wouldn't help. I needed the legal and evidentiary route to get justice, and I couldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. Still, I faced moments of rage, thinking about how she'd lied, how she'd dismissed my feelings, how she'd betrayed everything we'd built. The betrayal burned hot inside me, and I knew I'd carry that pain for a long time. As I prepared for the inevitable divorce, I also started to think about my future. I realized I'd been putting her first for too long, ignoring my own needs. Now I had a chance to rebuild, alone if I had to. I started doing things that made me happy again: hiking, reading, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. I even signed up for a few classes to improve my skills at work. It was a slow process, but I knew I had to focus on rebuilding myself, piece by piece. One thing I learned through all this is that betrayal cuts so deep because it shatters your trust not just in others, but in yourself. I kept questioning whether I'd missed the signs, whether I should have seen it coming. But I also realized that sometimes you can't see the truth coming until it's right in front of you. And when it hits, you have to decide whether to fall apart or pick yourself up and move on stronger than before. So I'm still in that process, cutting ties, gathering evidence, preparing for the legal battle ahead. It's not easy, and I know there's more pain coming, but I refuse to let her win by dragging me down. I'll make sure I come out of this with my dignity intact, even if it takes a while. Because at the end of the day, this betrayal has taught me the importance of trust, boundaries, and never ignoring my instincts. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll be better for it, stronger, wiser, and more cautious. The final stretch has been a mixture of relief and ache, an exhausting journey towards some semblance of closure. Once I had all the evidence, I mean everything from the billing records, the emails, the texts, the witness statements from the investigator, I sat down with my lawyer to finally file for divorce. It wasn't just about ending the marriage, it was about reclaiming my life from the ruins she'd left behind. Going through the legal process was a brutal reality check. She fought hard, of course. Denied everything in her usual bitchy tone, but I had the proof. They couldn't deny it. The emails, the billing discrepancies, the witness statements, they all painted a clear picture. It was a long, draining fight, but I remained focused. This wasn't just about getting out. It was about justice, about making her face what she'd done. One of the hardest parts was seeing how she tried to manipulate the situation, how she constantly spun. Stories blaming me, crying victim, trying to turn friends and family against me. It was classic Susan, selfish, entitled, relentless. But I knew better now. I knew her for what she truly was, a liar, a cheat, someone who'd sacrificed everything for her own selfish needs. The day the divorce was finalized, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I finally had my freedom, but I'd lost so much: my trust, my sense of security, my future. Still, I told myself it was better this way. Why stay in a marriage built on lies? Why keep pretending everything was fine when I knew the truth? It was time to heal. In the aftermath, I focused on getting my life back. I reconnected with friends, started dating again gradually, and worked on myself. I learned to trust my instincts more, to listen to that little voice inside that always tells you when something's wrong. I also started to forgive myself for not seeing her deception sooner. We all want to believe in the best of our partners, but sometimes reality hits hard and teaches us lessons we'll never forget. Looking back, I realized that betrayal like this, while devastating, can also be a catalyst. It forced me to confront my own resilience, to realize that I deserve honesty and loyalty, things I'd taken for granted. I learned to set boundaries, to not ignore my gut feelings, and to value myself more. No one should put up with being lied to and betrayed. Now I can honestly say I'm in a better place. The pain still lingers, sure, but it's becoming less sharp. I've come to terms with the fact that some things are beyond our control, like the choices other people make. All I can do is move forward, stay cautious, and remember that my worth isn't defined by how much someone else hurt me. It's about how I bounce back. The betrayal taught me a hard lesson. Trust is fragile, and it's on us to protect it. No one is immune to deception, but we are responsible for recognizing the signs early and standing up for ourselves. I'll never forget what I went through, but I'll also never let it break me. Sometimes the only way to truly heal is to face the truth head-on, take control, and keep walking forward, even if the journey is painful. That's what I've done, and I'm finally starting to feel whole again.